As a student of PR, it's also, from the very beginning, as you start to read and absorb and get a feel for what PR is to recognise that people obviously have different opinions. And Magda Piecka recently has discussed the two different types of school involved in this, schools of thought, as to what is public relations. One is the dominant paradigm and the other is the critical school. And I think it's important for young PR people to appreciate the two schools of thought. The dominant paradigm is what I would call the positive school of thought. It tends to be American. As I say, it's very much positive thinking about the professional, and it's been responsible since 1984 for the major theoretical frameworks of the profession. And it started with 4 development models tracing the evolution of the profession, and this was done by 2 major academics, Grunig and Hunt. And it's been developed further by several academics, in particular Dossier, 1995, and in fact throughout the 90s, and more recently Flynn. And in the 90s they also published what was referred to as the excellent study into public relations. In other words, what is excellent public relations? Now I think it is very, very important for all young PR professionals to be aware of the 4 models and why the critical school actually does criticise them. But it starts with when they go back to the history of PR, looking at PR as what they call press agentry, which is pure propaganda. It's one-way communication. The truth is not obviously crucial within that type of public relations. Then there's public information which developed during the war, which, as the name suggests, is all about information delivery, and it's one-way source to receiver. And then there's, I suppose, the PR which most of us practice, which is two-way asymmetric, which is about persuading publics to go in a particular way, to believe a certain thing. It's two-way, but it's imbalanced. In other words, the sender of the information has control of the information and has the power in order to persuade. And the final type of PR is what Grunig and Hunt refer to as two-way symmetrical. And this is what they believe is excellent public relations. It's where the sender and the receiver have equal power, and they listen to the communication with mutual understanding. It's a two-way balanced partnership in communication. So Grunig and Hunt say that this has been the kind of the 4-step development, the 4 models of public relation, from press agentry through to public information, through to two-way asymmetrical communication, through to two-way symmetrical. Now, they have been criticised for this, and gradually they have evolved their writing on this particular model, and in 1995 created the mixed motive model. And this is an acceptance that all 4 models in fact do exist in modern day public relations. And what they described, if you look at the model, is a situation where you have what's called the dominant coalition on one side, the sender of the information, and the public's position on the other. And in the middle, to achieve excellence in public relations, they move to a win-win zone where they're there performing mixed motive symmetrical communication to the mutual benefit of both the organisation and the publics. But the reality is, quite often, it's not about a win-win zone at all. Sometimes it's about asymmetrical communication, where the sender dominates the communication process, and sometimes in today's environment, in asymmetrical communication, the opposite in fact happens, where the public who are receiving the information receives the information and responds to it and gets their way. And that is often the case when activists get involved in public relations and good causes. So this is the reality, and this is the gradual evolution of the models of public relation from the 4 traditional models to the mixed motive perspective of PR. Excellence, the excellence model of PR that Grunig and Hunt and Dossier have developed over a 10-year study, is an acceptance that in order for what they perceive excellent public relations to be about. What they believe in is that there should always be positive relationship, there should always be a common interest between the sender and the receiver, there should always be innovation, there should be corporate responsibility. It's all about conflict resolution, about equality, about open systems, about transparency in communication. It's about mutual adjustment and using communication before persuasion. Now, I think as you study public relations, you'll gain your own perspective on that and your belief as to what public relations is all about. But it comes down for me and to an acceptance that, you know, symmetrical communication is not always possible, and most PR, to be honest, is asymmetrical. Now, as well as this functional school, this dominant paradigm, there is a growing, especially in Europe, critical school of thought to PR, and there's various levels, for me, there's various levels of this. Academics like Kevin Maloney and Jackie Latang and Magda Piecka are one set of within the critical school, and other critics like Ewan and Storber and Rampton, and websites like PR Watch, Corporate Watch, Spin Watch, are, as the name suggests, critical of the profession. Now, there's a number of reasons for this. First of all, they rightly point out of the power of PR people. In other words, they are sending the information, they have the information, they are professional persuaders. So there is always bias and there is always self-interest, they point out, you know, which makes symmetrical communication, I think, quite difficult. They also point out that PR people have the skills, they often have the budget or the money to manipulate. And they point out that PR is still about telling rather than saying, persuasion rather than communication. And of course, one has to agree with them that there are many international, political and social examples of negative and poor PR, deceptive PR, in fact, to support the critical school's thinking. But despite all that, I think most academics would agree that PR also has a very positive role to play for activist PR, for social reformers, for peacemakers, and you know that is reality. And the other thing that you know, I think all students must note, that consumers of today are much more sophisticated at appreciation of the media and communication. They don't just take it all in and believe it all, and they do question the source and they do question the intent of PR people in today's society. The important thing, however, to note is these two schools of thought and public relations, the dominant and the critical schools. Now, what is the next step for you? I've given here a brief introduction to public relations. I think, first of all, you have to develop your own knowledge and opinions on public relation. You need to read the notes that I've provided you with to gain an understanding of PR, the models, the positive perspectives of PR and the critical school. And I want you to read and prepare your own notes and read various academic papers on persuasion, the public sphere, systems theory, public opinion and PR and professionalism. We haven't really approached those particular subjects in this introductory lecture. But what will happen next is I hope you go away and do some additional reading, and I'll see you in the seminars.